Don't let coronavirus ruin your retirement plans. On today's show, some tips to retire on in spite of COVID-19.
And now, the Wealth Training Academy. Your retirement questions are answered here.
Shielding and protecting and growing the money that you've worked so hard for.
Ed Storer offers turnkey retirement solutions under one roof.
We handle every aspect of a person's finances.
The Wealth Training Academy with Ed Storer.
Welcome. It is the Wealth Training Academy. Consumer advocate Dave Perkins here with Ed Storer, president of the Wealth Training Academy. Ed is your shield. He certainly can be. He can be your wealth coach, and he heads up a team with areas of expertise including taxes, investments, insurance, Medicare, estate planning, all in the same office. It is the Wealth Training Academy. Hello, Ed. You are, or should I say, hail to the chief of the Wealth Training Academy.
The chief, no. I've seen the chief. He has too many jobs.
Okay,
I don't want to be the chief.
Well, you've got
it's
a lot
the
of
team.
It is true. It's the team, and you've got a lot of jobs that are handled there, but you're not doing them all yourself. You've got experts in those areas.
That is the idea. Taxes, investments, insurance, and estate planning, all in one place, handled under one roof, but by many different people.
And you can tell the team there to activate the Financial Wealth Shield. It's financial wealth management system integrating tax, investments, insurance, estate planning, all to create a good, solid retirement plan for you from retirement specialists, including Ed, of course, the chief specialist. You can't get away from that chief title. Well, you're not alone.
I know.
You're not alone being concerned about your ability to retire on time, your time schedule in a bear market. It does create some concern. Am I able to do this now? So Ed has put together some tips here to help make sure you stay on track with that. And of course, if you can, we'll throw that caveat in, is leave those existing savings alone.
Back in March, the CARES Act was put into effect to help Americans, basically stay afloat during this difficult time. One provision of the CARE Act is that you're now allowed to withdraw $100,000 from your IRA and or your 401k penalty-free, regardless of your age. Normally, withdrawals are subject to, that 10% penalty, if you take it out prior to age 59.5. Tapping retirement savings, may be tempting during this time, but remember, when you're taking that income or that money out of your 401k and or your IRA, you're actually not leaving enough or potentially hurting your retirement. Now, there are some good things and there are some bad things about that. One, if you take the money out of the retirement account, you can spread that taxes over 3 years. So a lot of folks weren't aware of that. I had a couple in my office, and so we were talking about the idea of paying off the home maybe early and so forth. And we talked about some different strategies that actually made sense for them to take the money out. However, remember, it is the longer you leave the money to grow, obviously the more you're going to have. So let's maybe look around for different ideas to pull money from, maybe not necessarily your retirement account, but maybe some other areas. Maybe spend down that taxable account. Maybe look at potentially reducing some of those CDs that are paying point nothing. Look at opportunities that are in and around other investments that you have, not just the 401k or IRA. Even though you have access to it, it might not be a great idea.
Yeah. So there are alternatives, and I'm sure that's something that you talk to your clients about. Hey, let's look at this, and this before we touch this, the big kahuna. Make sure you can retire when you want to retire, because I know you're crossing the days off of the calendar. I mean, if you're doing that, you're getting close, and you want to make sure you stay on track. And of course, you want to have the kind of lifestyle that you enjoy when you do retire. And so keep funding that retirement plan.
If you've lost your job and you are living on unemployment benefits right now, my prayers go out to you. I apologize. I hope everything turns around. But continuing to contribute to your retirement plan may not necessarily be possible if you're in those situations. But if you still have income and there's money left over after your basic needs and so on, put money into your retirement account. First and foremost, you need to understand making a contribution to your traditional IRA or 401k actually may end up lowering your tax burden, okay? Because you could deduct that off your taxes. Secondly, now's a good time to put money into a retirement account because, well, investments are still low and you might be able to, you know what they say, buy low, sell high,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Unfortunately, some people didn't sell high when they should have been. But now's a great time to take advantage of these things. You might be able to get into some investments that you were always saying, wow, I wish I could afford those, or I wanted to take advantage of it. Well, now might be the time to take advantage. And especially now's the time to really even think about looking to convert from traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. The assets, your retirement accounts or your 401ks might be down. And now's the time to reposition those again to the Roth. Remember, you want to pay taxes on the seed, not the crop. And so taking advantage of the market being down, converting is really a great idea. But don't stop contributing unless you can't afford it. Now, if you cannot afford your basic needs, again, going back to this, if you can't afford your basic needs, then obviously you need to worry about that. However, still contribute to your retirement. You're going to need that money down the road.
Yeah, if you can, certainly. And you're right when you open this up by saying, yeah, there's some people unfortunately have lost their jobs or they're furloughed. But if you can stay on course to hit that retirement date that you've got in your mind, you want to retire, that'll be obviously the best case. So continue, if you can, to contribute. And Ed Storer has put together a list of some tips to help make sure you stay on track to meet your retirement deadline. 800-563-7030 is how you can get Ed and his team behind you, build that retirement plan, and then with you throughout your retirement. 800-563-7030. Ed, what if you need, though, to borrow some money? What are the best options? And I know credit card is not going to be number one on your list.
No. Here's depending on what you're looking to borrow. And I want to spend a couple of minutes here on this. And if you're try not to borrow money to pay bills first and foremost, cut back on your expenses so you don't have those bills. Again, we've talked many times. We don't need that extra boat. We don't need those big TVs right now. If you're spending money to take care of that, then you might want to stop unless you have plenty of income. Now, interest rates are down. Looking at your returns that you're maybe getting in your CDs and returns you're maybe getting in your checking accounts and or savings accounts, you might want to start looking at the interest that you're getting and then apply that to the debt that you're paying. It might be better off for you not to save as much as you think and then reposition those dollars to get rid of those high paying credit cards, as David was talking about earlier, to get rid of those high paying credit cards. Look at where your interest is coming in and where your interest is going out. This goes back to actually what we were talking about when we were sitting down and chit-chatting with a couple. We were looking, going, okay, how much do you owe in your house? How much do you owe on this other vehicle, this debt that you owe? And how much are you making in your savings? And how much are you making on these CDs? And now this couple was over 59 and a half, but they were making point nothing on these CDs.
Right.
And they were literally, and they had just retired and their income was down from previously. But they still had these dollars in the CDs. And it was a significant amount for their savings, but they had other dollars placed somewhere else. But because they were following the good old golden rule of make sure you save, but they had this debt out there. And they thought it was still good debt because they didn't understand taxes. And we talked about different ways to reposition and look at things. And in their case, it made more sense to potentially take dollars out of their old CDs because they were making nothing and pay off their house.
Makes sense.
Because their house wasn't deductible anymore on the interest. So it made more, they were costing them more owing on their home than it was making any kind of money on their tax-deferred CDs. And we ran the numbers, and we looked at the justification, and they would be better off tax-wise. They would be better off cash flow-wise than if they just kept paying those payments. So it's very important that we look at every aspect of your taxes, your investments, your insurance, and your estate planning, especially with your 3 to 5 years away from retirement. But if you're going into retirement, you have to look at that, because what you thought was the good rules are not being utilized in today's world. They don't make sense. They may not make sense for your world. And that's why for the next 10 callers, we're going to do this. Call us right now. For the next 10 callers, I have a team that will give you a call back. So you call, if you leave a message, we have a team that will return your telephone call this morning. So for the next 10 callers, we're going to do a full-blown evaluation of your taxes, your investments, your insurance, and your estate planning. We'll find out all the hidden fees and commissions you're paying inside your investments. We'll do a full-blown review that normally costs $1,000 that we've seen here in Greenville, South Carolina, but we're going to do it for free. Next 10 callers, give us a call now.
Great opportunity. Take advantage of it for the next 10. This is at no cost or obligation. 800-563-7030. 800-563-7030. And Ed said it, a full-blown evaluation. They're going to look at everything, including fees you may not even be aware that you're paying, and look at taxes. And as Ed mentioned in talking to that couple, you could have that aha moment from something Ed or someone on his team suggests that could be something you never thought of as an alternative, and go, wow, glad I came in here. 800-563-7030. This full-blown evaluation at no cost or obligation. This is to the next 10 at 800-563-7030. Get Ed Storer and his team behind you, because they are a turnkey firm. Tax, investments, insurance, Medicare, estate planning, all in the same office. And it's all about your retirement plan with the right protection and also with guaranteed income through your retirement. 800-563-7030. Next 10 full-blown evaluation, no cost or obligation. 800-563-7030. Just getting started for the weekend here with the Wealth Training Academy. What's coming up next, Ed?
Well, they say that over 30% of Americans plan to work after they retire. Well, this is according to a survey done by TD Ameritrade in 2019. When we come back, we'll highlight some of the truths about retirement and some of the things you really may not want to hear when we come back.
He's letting the clock run out on his Social Security to age 70 for maximum benefits. And here comes the Roth conversion. He's locked in for income for life. He's got some outstanding coaching with that annuity plan. He's created his own pension as well, and it looks like he's going to go all the way.
Play your best retirement game. Call Ed Storer and the team at the Wealth Training Academy. 800-563-7030. 800-563-7030. Ed Storer, 800-563-7030. We're back. It's the Wealth Training Academy with consumer advocate Dave Perkins, having the conversation with the man with the information every week, and really good information. We talk retirement, and Ed would like to talk you. If you can schedule that consultation, it would be a great hour of your time for that initial consultation. 800-563-7030. You'll be amazed what you could learn about what you can do and the strategies that Ed and his team can employ for you. 800-563-7030. Well, from dealing with the unexpected medical costs of retirement to even supporting adult children or your parents, Americans often find themselves facing expenses in retirement that they were not anticipating. We're going to take a look at some not so pretty truths about retirement, but we're not only going to take a look at not so many truths, pick that rock up and see what's underneath, but we're going to offer, Ed, you're going to offer some solutions and some good ideas on that too. In retirement, not so pretty truth number one, you do need to plan on the fact that some of your investment success will be left to chance. So I guess proper risk, right, in that.
Yes. There's two types of risks. There's the risks that you need to take, and there's risks you're willing to take.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the risks we need to take in order to get to where we need to be does not equal the risks that we want to take, or we take too much risk. So, we have to make sure what happens in the market over the next 10 years before and after you retire from that date can play a significant role to your portfolio. So it's very important to decide your risk before and after. That's why naming a date of when you want the capability to retire may not be the same as when I'm going to retire. So sometimes there's a little misconfusion there. So we really need to hammer that down when we come in and you talk to us and so forth. We're going to hammer that down. What's the difference between when you're capable and when you want to? A lot of people do not get that right, and it's a big difference, and I can't stress that enough. So understanding risk, understanding how much you have to take, understanding when you're capable of retiring and when you want to retire, big issues.
Yeah, and that means you could invest too conservatively.
Yeah, that's right, because stay clear of the high potential investments and things that sound just so good. Slow and continuous. Remember, the tortoise won the race.
He did.
Slow and continuous. Make sure that you're understanding what you're spending in retirement. This is where people get mad at me. And when they come in, I go, so what's our budget for retirement? They go, budget? What? I don't even have a budget. I just,
You need one.
You do, but you haven't put it down on paper.
Right.
So we're going to help you figure all that out.
Yeah, and in looking at this is something I think a lot of people misjudge. I'm probably guilty of this too, and how long I'm going to live. And I've already surprised myself, actually. But you're probably going to live longer than your parents did, but it's certainly that cost more, so you have to plan accordingly.
That's true. The average life expectancy in the United States today is 84 years, according to the Social Security and so forth. However, our expected life expectancy is actually a little higher. If you're 64, 65 now, it's pushing you into the 90s. So the truth about retirement is we're living longer. And therefore, we have to make sure that we save for those golden years. The rules of planning for, we're just going to live in retirement for the next maybe 10, 15, 20 years. Let's push that out to 20 to 30 years in retirement. You plan to be 25 to 30 years in retirement, and that's a good number to be in. And if you're not there, we can show you how to maybe get you there.
Yeah, I still have to wrap my mind around the fact that you could be retired potentially as long as you worked, and that's got to be one of the first things you talk to your clients about. Is we're going to come up with a plan. We got to get you through this. We're anticipating you're going to live long. We're setting your retirement plan on Methuselah, just in case. I mean, you have to, really, don't you, Ed?
Yeah, you do. It goes right into, here's the thing. You may want to retire from what you're doing today, but you might want to continue to work. And having that part-time job after you retire from this first one really makes sense. I mean, recognizing the idea of being physically fit and mentally healthy to do that. So you need to keep your mind sharp. And let's face it, sometimes we retire to nothing. And we lose our connections, we lose our stability, we lose our identity. And so maybe you just don't even like the job that you're at and you want to go to something else. That's fine. There's a great statistic of the idea that you could do part-time retirement. People can get a part-time job. You might want to go, okay, I'm going to work 10, 15 hours a week, not killing myself, but I just want to get out there and I have plenty of other income. And then you count that part-time income, calculate it into your budget.
Right.
That way you know exactly the income that's coming in and you know how much you need to work. And so sometimes part-time jobs are great. There's nothing wrong with that. You need to think about your mental and physical well-being when you go into retirement.
It's like in the movie Sling Blade, the guy Carl worked for said, you give you a little walking around money. Go out and get you some hard candy and some magazines. But that's the whole thing. You can look at it like that. It's some extra money. And my dream is to, although I love my job, but my dream would be to, when I retire, to be able to go and find something to keep my mind active, to keep from getting bored, make a little extra money that I like doing. So I love that. That's something that I look forward to. Here's another thing, too. Where Ed is looking at some not so pretty truths about retirement, but offering solutions to, which he would do for you at 800-563-7030. That's how you can set up that initial consultation with Ed and his team, 800-563-7030. You don't want to lose out by mistiming Social Security. That's the big decision.
Social Security is not the same for everyone. I cannot stress this enough. You can lose out by taking it too early. You could lose out by not calculating your spousal benefits. You could lose out by not understanding the taxes on your Social Security. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go forward. But yes, people pay taxes on Social Security. I know it's crazy, but they do.
Yeah.
So you need to understand your Social Security timing and your Social Security benefits, not just some kind of random, I'm going to get this income in and then I can calculate. Not understanding Social Security, because Social Security can actually be one of your biggest investments, and you have to think about it as an investment. Your Social Security can really make a huge difference for you and your spouse. So don't, if anything, I see this too much. People are like, Social Security, I'll just get that and add that to my other income coming in. But no, you really need to look at how you can manage this. So mismanaging Social Security is one of the biggest things we see people making mistakes on all the time.
And I don't want to leave this out. And again, we're revealing some not so pretty truths in reality of retirement, but solutions for that too. And you've got in your office there, one of your team members has an area of expertise in Medicare, and you are probably going to need to supplement that.
Yeah. Well, many procedures aren't covered by Medicare, including dental, hearing, vision, long-term care, assisted living, nursing. So many retirees don't understand the need for having an expert in the Medicare field help guide you. That Medicare person needs to communicate with your tax person and your investment person. They need to be on the same team. That goes right along with the idea of not understanding the proper idea of long-term care, because usually your Medicare person understands the long-term care. And 70% of people age 65 and older are going to need some kind of long-term care. But your Medicare doesn't cover it. So That's why you have to understand the difference between the two. It is very important that you calculate the idea of how much inflation is going to actually affect your medical expenses, hence your Medicare expense, hence the long-term care cost of having somebody come in, either take care of you at home or somewhere else. You have to take all that into consideration. And that's why we have a team. We have a team of tax people, investment people, insurance people, and estate planning people. And so what I'm going to do is, for the next 10 folks that call right now, give us a call. Somebody will answer. Somebody will get back to you today. Give us a call if you happen to leave a message, but we will get back to you first thing this morning. Next 10 callers, we'll do a tax evaluation, investment evaluation. You'll know the fees and commissions you're paying inside your investments. We'll look at your insurance costs. We'll look at the life insurance. We'll look at your Medicare, look at how much it will cost you in Medicare and so forth. We'll take a look at those. We'll evaluate your estate planning. How important is that? That's very important. We have the attorneys here in-house. So for the next 10 callers, we've seen people charge $1,000 for this. We will do it for free, a full-blown evaluation of where you are to where you want to be. We'll look at all the hidden fees and commissions. Next 10 callers, give us a call now.
And we do have the phone lines open now. And as Ed said, leave a message when we get off the air. Someone, Ed or someone on his team, will get back in touch with you and schedule this. This consultation for the next 10, a full-blown evaluation, is offered at no cost or obligation. 800-563-7030, 800-563-7030. You know, looking at what we covered in that last segment of the not-so-pretty truths about retirement, it really points out how Ed and his team look at this, and they plan accordingly based on some of the realities of retirement, including a big one that you could live a lot longer than you even expect, that you want to make sure you time Social Security properly and maximize Social Security, taking into account Medicare and even the fact that you could at some point, because you could live longer than you expect, need long-term care. They're looking at all of these scenarios, and they have all the right tools, all the right components of the retirement plan to set up that retirement plan with the right protection and with guaranteed income through your retirement. And it all starts with you taking advantage of Ed's offer. Next 10, full-blown evaluation, no cost or obligation, 800-563-7030. 800-563-7030. And the phone lines are open now, and we are rolling with the show, The Wealth Training Academy. What's next, Ed?
When we come back, we're going to break down some sources in retirement income that aren't taxable and some sources that we thought were tax-free but are taxable.
You've worked all your life. You've saved. You've played by the rules. Now it's time to retire. Here's the question. Who do you want relaxing and taking it easy? Your nest egg or you? Well, of course, you want to relax and travel and enjoy. And sorry, nest egg, you've got more work to do. For a retirement that maximizes your portfolio, your Social Security, avoids unnecessary risks, and protects you from pitfalls, and frankly lets you retire and keeps the nest egg working, you need a retirement partner. You need someone looking out for your best interest and building a plan for you based on your situation. You need Ed Storer and the team at the Wealth Training Academy. 800-563-7030. 800-563-7030. Ed Storer, 800-563-7030. Back with the Wealth Training Academy and talking with Ed Storer, president of the Wealth Training Academy, serving people proudly in the Greenville and surrounding area and building good retirement plans for them, because Ed is the shield, the wealth coach. He and his team, who come with expertise in taxes and investments, insurance, Medicare, estate planning, all of the components of a good retirement plan, and they're all in the same office there at the Wealth Training Academy. 800-563-7030. Well, we're going to take a look at some things, a couple of things that are tax-free in retirement, income sources, and we're going to take a look in this segment at some misconceptions about some income sources that are tax-free. Let's start out with the best first, and that's the ones that aren't tax-free. And of course, you said this earlier, you pay the taxes on the seed and not the crops with the Roth IRA and Roth 401k withdrawals, tax-free.
That's right. So here's the misconception. When you put money into the Roth retirement accounts, either Roth IRA or Roth 401k, the dollars you put in are not deducted from your taxes. However, the flip side is when you take the money out, it is all tax-free, state, federal, and Social Security tax-free, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, as well as it doesn't increase the cost of Medicare. So taking a little bit now, sacrificing a little bit now, paying a little bit taxes now while you are potentially younger and you have potential tax deductions, and you can maybe still itemize on your taxes, makes a lot of sense, because what will happen is when you get older and you pay off your house and everything, your kids are now through college and everything's done, and you start taking money out of those accounts, you have no more tax deductions, so you really need to have tax-free income. And that's why the Roth 401k and the Roth IRA really makes sense. Now, I'm saying that maybe you don't have the potential to make a contribution to a Roth 401k. then you definitely need to look at a Roth IRA outside of that and making more contribution to that for both you and your spouse. So take advantage of the Roth 401k, take advantage of the Roth IRA, put those dollars to work while you're younger, because when you take them out, your golden years can then be tax-free on distributions.
And there are two wonderful words there too, tax-free. And this is another number here is 3, because I like to call HSA withdrawals and investments the triple play of tax, not only savings, but they're tax-free, right? The health savings account.
Correct. So if you have a high deductible health insurance plan, you may be eligible to make a contribution to what's called the health savings account or the HSA, doing it in order to be able to benefit you and your spouse for medical expenses. Now, we look at HSAs and how to utilize them different than maybe other people do. We look at HSAs as an opportunity for you to make withdrawals to pay for your Medicare expenses down the road, because once you start at age 65, you can no longer make contributions to a health savings account. And therefore, you've now lost the opportunity to put even more money in tax-free. The reason why we say tax-free is it's a tax deduction going in. The dollars grow tax-free, and the withdrawals come out tax-free.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the gotcha on this is you have to have a high deductible health insurance plan.
Right.
We've been seeing other companies and talking to the human resources and so forth, and there's actually different opportunities inside some companies offer different costs for their medical plan. So you might still be an employee, and you might be able to change around your medical insurance if you're now, I'm not saying that don't do this if you're not healthy. Listen to me. Don't do this if you're not healthy.
Be healthy.
But if you're a healthy person and you don't normally use your medical, maybe, and you have a lot of savings on the side, it might make sense to maybe change around your health. Listen, your health insurance, but you need to make sure you talk to a health insurance expert, a licensed insurance health specialist. We have one on our team. We can help you figure this out, but you need to make sure that you do this correctly, but it can make a huge difference for your medical expenses down the road.
And Ed, of course, you also have a tax person with tax expertise on your team there too, and that's a big part of retirement, making sure you have employed the proper tax strategies. We open up with a couple of sources of income that are tax-free in retirement. We're going to look at some misconceptions about some other sources of income. Not that they're bad, but they're not necessarily 100% full-blown tax-free. There are some caveats, and although I love what life insurance has evolved into, and there are tax benefits certainly, but what are the caveats there with life insurance? When is it tax-free? When is it not tax-free?
Good question. Very good question. And now, so you have permanent life insurance. These things are called whole life, universal life, income life, index life, variable universal life. Anything that builds up cash value along with your life insurance. Now, you can't do what we were talking about with term life insurance, because that's kind of like your car insurance. You use it if you need it. If you don't, it disappears. You pay for it as you need. Nothing wrong with term insurance. But if you have the permanent kind of life insurance, which you should and shouldn't, depending on your situation, some of that can be utilized now for long-term care. But here's the thing. These insurance agents are going around saying that you can take all the money out tax-free and cash these policies in tax-free, and that's not true. You can borrow from the policies, which are tax-free loans to you, which are great, but dividends and capital gains that are paid back to the savings portion of the contract actually are taxable to you if you cash in the policy. So understanding, again, one more time, you need to have your expert on the insurance side and the expert on the tax side working together in order to work this out correctly for you. Because if you do this wrong, it can cost you big time in taxes. But if you do it right, it can be a wonderful source of tax-free income to you if they're structured correctly. And we've seen too many people think they get this right, or they'll just go to the insurance agent and the insurance agent's calling himself a financial planner and so forth. Remember, we're fiduciaries. Our job's to work for you. We don't care what companies you have and so forth. But you have to structure this correctly. And the tax people and the tax people and the insurance people must work together on this one. But it can be a great source of some tax-free income.
And of course, Ed and his team have the answers for you, and it's as easy as just reaching out to them by calling 800-563-7030, 800-563-7030. Although I think everyone would agree it shouldn't be any taxes involved in Social Security. There certainly are.
Social Security is not, it used to be, but your Social Security benefit can be taxable now. And specifically, if you fall into, if you're single and your income is above $25,000, you'll start getting taxed on your Social Security, or a portion of your Social Security will be taxable. And if you're 34,000 and above, filed marrying joint, your Social Security will start taxable in and around 50%. So the idea of, oh, my Social Security is tax-free to me is not. It actually will increase your taxes unless you understand how all your income is coming together. So again, your Social Security benefits need to be working with a true fiduciary who understands Social Security planning and a tax person, because they need to get together and have a conversation about what all the benefits are and how to take your Social Security in order to not have it taxable.
And finally, Ed, we've got a little bit of time here. Can you break down municipal bonds, how that works, and in with taxes?
Sure. Municipal bonds have been talked about for years. Individual municipal bonds have been talked about for years as being a triple tax-free, state, federal, and local tax-free. And that is true until you start taking Social Security, because the income from the municipal bonds raises the taxable amount of your Social Security. So, hence, municipal bonds are not all tax-free when you retire. So if you're getting ready to retire and you're about to take Social Security and you need to plan when you want to take your Social Security, see, that's why we're saying when you plan, when you figure out your plan, not someone else's plan, when you know what you want to do, then you can implement these tools, these municipal bonds, these life insurance, the health and savings accounts, when to take Social Security for you and your spouse. There are so many different things that you need to think about before you go into retirement and take into consideration all these different plans. And that's why we're going to open the phones back up for the next 10 callers who call right now. Give us a call, leave a message. We'll get back in touch with you this morning. My team will get back with you. And we are going to do a full-blown review for you. Your taxes, your investments, your insurance, your estate planning. We'll find out the hidden fees and commissions inside your retirement accounts. Yes, your 401ks have hidden fees. They're in there. Just Google hidden fees. No one's doing this for free. You need to understand that there are fees being paid inside your life insurances, your policies, your investments, everything. We look at your estate planning documents for you. So your taxes, your investments, your insurance, your estate planning, we'll look at it all for the next 10 callers. Give us a call, a full-blown review. We've seen people charge $1,000 for this. So if you have $250,000 or more in your retirement accounts, the team and I will evaluate everything for you. Give us a call now.
Great opportunity for you, 800-563-7030. We do have the phone lines open, and someone in Ed's team will get back and schedule this no-cost, no-obligation, full-blown evaluation for you, 800-563-7030. This offer is extended to the next 10 callers who call in now. The phone lines are open, 800-563-7030. It's a great opportunity for retirees and pre-retirees because from Ed and his team, it's common sense planning. It's straight talk. It's not financial double talk. It's not a sales pitch. And as Ed said, they are a fiduciary firm, and that means that they have your best interest at heart. The number to set this up, 800-563-7030, 800-563-7030. No cost or obligation to the next 10. We're going to close it out, Ed, hearing from people who have interacted with your website, wealthtrainingacademy.com. What's up in the next segment then, Ed?
We're going to answer some questions that have been coming through on our website. Hopefully they'll be one of yours.
a lot of components to your retirement, and it certainly can seem overwhelming. It's time to establish a partnership with a professional who can provide you with a written plan, the proper strategies, and then be there with you along the way. That's Ed Storer at the Wealth Training Academy, 800-563-7030, 800-563-7030. The Wealth Training Academy continues, and good information, as always, every week at this time on this show from Ed Storer. Ed representing, of course, his team at the Wealth Training Academy, a turnkey firm, taxes, investments, insurance, Medicare, estate planning, all in the same office. You can learn more about Ed and the team. Visit the website wealthtrainingacademy.com, wealthtrainingacademy.com. Now, on the homepage, if you click on Contact Us, that's where you can submit your question. And you very well could hear your question read on the air here. Well, answered, not just read by me, most importantly, answered by Ed. That's how we close out the show. First one is, Ed, it's coming from Pendleton. My employer just cut our 401k match completely. They used to match 100% of our first 6%, but now they're contributing absolutely nothing. I keep telling my wife that if they're not going to match, we shouldn't put any money in either. Can you help me explain why to her? You're going to get in the middle of that, Ed?
Did I mention I charge extra for marriage counseling?
Right, exactly.
So
He wants you to help him out. Are you going to do it?
Yeah, no. What part of isolation and COVID, we're on each other's nerves more than ever before, don't we understand? No, I'm just, and so Pendleton, so obviously this is a gentleman because he said explain to her and why. Here we go. I disagree. First and foremost, I don't know this person's income. If you cannot make a contribution to, or if you have the ability to make a contribution to a retirement account, you may not be able to make a contribution to a traditional IRA and take a tax deduction. So there's a lot of going on here in this question that is not coming forward. Not that he's not being truthful in any way, shape, or form. It's just that there's a lot of things to take in consideration. First and foremost, why not make a contribution to the 401k? It's still money that is going to grow either tax-free or tax-deferred, just like we talked about. If it's the Roth 401k, you can make contributions there. If it's the traditional 401k, you make contributions there. You can actually make more contributions to those type vehicles than you can a single retirement account outside. You can make contributions to the IRAs up to a certain point, depending on your income and so on. And so there's a whole lot that needs to be looked at in this question. That it would be scary. That, and I'm sure she has a big knife. She will kill you if you don't. I'm just goofing off here. She wants that retirement money. Keep putting away. Now, here's the thing. If you can make a contribution to a Roth 401k, it is better. But if you can't make a contribution to a Roth 401k and you're deciding to make a contribution to a Roth IRA outside, that might be a better idea. So depending on what this person's really trying to do, give us a call. We'll help figure this out for you, because there's so many moving parts on this question that it really needs a telephone call. So give us a call. We'll help you out.
And you can call, and the number is 800-563-7030, 800-563-7030. You played that beautifully, Ed. We normally only allow one question per visitor on your website, but he did have a follow-up. My wife thinks I never listen to her. Can you explain to her that I do? You don't want to get into that. Let's go to Fountain. Let's go to Fountain Inn. Out of Fountain Inn, I don't understand the new required minimum distribution rules. Can you please explain these to me? And I will say that they put the please in all caps, so they could use some help on that.
Wow, there's a lot going on with the required minimum distributions and the new changes and the ability not to have to take a required minimum distribution this year. So I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights, because This really depends on the person's age, depends on when they're taking the required minimum distribution, did they inherit the money, so forth. But what happened is under the old rules of the required minimum distribution, you had to take your first required minimum distribution by April 1st of the year after you turned 70 and a half. The rules still hold out for anyone who basically 70 and a half by the end of 2019, okay? If you hit 70 and a half on June 30th of 2019, for example, you're going to have to take some cash out of your IRA by April 1st this year, April 1st, 2020, as required under the old rules. Now, the Secure Act passed in 2019 made a big change to the required minimum distributions by extending that age from age 70 and a half to age 72. And under the new rules, if you turn 70 on July 1st of 2019 or later, you don't have to take your required minimum distribution for 2019. Instead, you must take your required minimum distribution on 2021, the year after you turn 72. So by April 1st, again in year 2022, is when you have to take your required minimum distribution. Now that means that you could leave a little bit of money in the IRA and linger a little bit. Now they've extended the April 1 deadline for this year because it applies to your very first required minimum distribution, and you don't have to take your required minimum distribution out this year. So what's really screwed up is you could end up taking 2 required minimum distributions out by the end of 2022.
Yeah, you don't want that.
2021 and 2022. So it's very confusing. Give us a call. We'll sit down and map it out for you.
I was going to say, I mean, the best thing is just to have you, Ed, and your team keeping up with all that. I see why they put please in all caps. Man, I tell you.
Just call us. Well, that's a very difficult question to answer because there's so many moving parts.
Well, I mean, yeah, the Secure Act changed it, and then CARES Act made another change, temporary. Wow. All right,
it is. I understand why people are so confused. I mean, it takes us a little bit to figure it out sometimes.
Right. You got to break out a slide rule to figure that out.
That's why we work with engineers and doctors.
That's right. Exactly. Hey, if you want to have your question answered, just visit the website wealthtrainingacademy.com. Click contact us. You can submit your question. By the way, do put your town in there so we can give a shout out to your town, like Simpsonville. I am inheriting $250,000. I have no savings or retirement at 54 years old. How can I invest this money to make it last?
Great question. How did you inherit the money?
Yeah.
Is it an IRA?
Good point.
Was it a sale from a house? Was it a dollars from a life insurance policy? Was it savings accounts? Was it stocks? How you inherited the money can make the difference on how you will invest the money. So that is too much for me to be able to even attempt to do it. So because you have the new 10-year payout rules, you have for inherited IRAs. So it's a big question. Wonderful question. Very important question. Taxes need to be considered. Investment styles need to be considered. Insurance needs to be considered. Estate planning, now that you have big assets that have just been inherited, need to be relooked at. Give us a call, please.
That's definitely a good start, though. Getting that 250.
Definitely.
You make a good point about how did they get it, though. And then finally, a little bit of time here for Greenville. A little bit of time. Not a little bit of a question here. I want to have money to leave my children after retirement and my passing. If I have $1 million saved at retirement and I apply the 3 or 4% rule of withdrawal and only take withdrawals at that rate for the rest of my life, will my initial investment still be $1 million after 30 or more years in retirement if I invest 50-50 in stocks and bonds? 10 seconds here, Ed, go.
First and foremost, you haven't been listening to me because I don't believe in the 3 or 4% rule. It does not make sense anymore. And you've just inherited $1 million, 50% stocks. Okay, let's pretend the stock market crashes. You lose that, and interest rates don't go back up, and inflation eats everything away. So now give us a call.
That's it.
And here we go again. Next 10 callers, give us a call. If you have a situation like this, and you want to leave money, give us a call. You need a tax plan, an investment plan, an insurance plan, an estate plan. You need a review. You need to find out what's going on first and foremost. You need to understand your taxes, your investments, your insurance, and your estate planning. They all come together in retirement. So many times we've seen people, they're going to the tax person, the investment person, the insurance person, the estate planning, and then when they come talk to us and I go ask them questions, they're like, oh, they never said that. Oh, they never said that. How come they didn't tell me that? Well, that's not their job. Their job is to sell you a product and put little numbers in little boxes. We will do a full-blown review for you. Your taxes, your investments, your insurance, your estate planning. You will know your fees that you're paying inside your investments. We've seen people charge $1,000 for this. We're going to do it for free because we understand people are hurting right now. If you have $250,000 or more, give us a telephone call. We will do a full-blown review, let you know exactly where you're at, maybe potentially on what you need to be, where you need to be. We'll calculate all this. Everything comes together in retirement. You need a team. Taxes, investments, insurance, estate planning. I've got the team. Everyone's here. I don't do this by myself, which is why we'll give you a telephone call, leave a number or a message for us. We'll get back to you this morning. We will get back to you this morning. My team will give you a call to set up a time. Give us a call.
800-563-7030, 800-563-7030. Schedule your no-cost, no-obligation, full-blown evaluation with Ed and his team. It could lead to your own customized retirement plan, including income and protection. They offer turnkey retirement services at the Wealth Training Academy, including the Tax Advisory Group, Investments Made Easy, Insurance Made Easy, Essential Estate Planning. It all comes under the umbrella of the Wealth Training Academy. Let Ed and his team draw that retirement roadmap for you. 800-563-7030, 800-563-7030. Yeah, we love the question segment of the show, Ed, because we have a lot of fun with it, but we get great questions, and it really drives the point home. They really need to come and get your team behind them.
Great questions. Keep giving them to us. We love to hear them. We want to call you. And by the way, we call you back also if we don't happen to leave you or leave or talk to them about it on the air. We'll give you a call.
Absolutely. So do call in and do join us next week for the Wealth Training Academy.
Insurance services offered through the Wealth Training Academy and Insurance Made Easy, LLC. Investment advisory services offered through Sophos Investment Incorporated, an SEC registered investment advisor. Sophos is not affiliated with the Wealth Training Academy or any other entity listed herein. The opinions in this commentary are those of the author and may not necessarily reflect those held by Sophos. This is for general information only and is not intended to provide specific investment advice or recommendations for any individual. It is suggested that you consult your financial professional, attorney, or tax advisor with regard to your individual situation. Comments concerning past performance are not intended to be forward-looking and should not be viewed as investment advice. Tax services are offered through the Wealth Training Academy and the Tax Advisory Group, LLC. Tax services offered are to help business owners and individuals create sound tax planning strategies that are custom suited to their individual needs and objectives.